Hello everyone, welcome to We Listen podcast. My name is Vinith Reddy Vakiti and I am an advocate by profession. Today I am going to give you the case brief of Bishal Jaiswal versus Asset Reconstruction Company India Limited and another. But before jumping into the facts of the case, I would like to give you a brief introduction regarding the issue. Right from the very beginning, the interaction between the IBC and limitation has been very much contentious. And one such contentious issue is the applicability of Section 18 of the Limitation Act to the IBC. That is, regarding the acknowledgement in writing which extends the limitation period. And probably the first Supreme Court case which dealt with this issue is the Babulal Vardarji Gurjar case. And this case, instead of resolving the issue, has complicated it even further. The Babulal Vardarji Gurjar decision actually discussed about the applicability of Article 137 of the Limitation Act to the Code, which says that the limitation for an application to be filed is strictly 3 years and it can only be extended under Section 5 of the Limitation Act, that is, condonation of delay. And when the respondents in the Babulal Vardarji Gurjar case relied heavily upon the Section 18 of the Limitation Statute, the court held that this particular section is inapplicable to the present facts and circumstances. But however, the written judgment of the Babulal Vardarji Gurjar sparked the debate that Section 18 of the Limitation Act does not apply to the proceedings under the code, and the reason behind that was they pointed out the paragraph of the judgment which states that the limitation is extended only by virtue of Section 5 and not otherwise. Thus, the Supreme Court decision in the Babulal Vardarji has become contentious. But it's very much pertinent to note that Babulal Vardarji Gurjar is not the controlling authority on the application of Section 18 of the Limitation Act, because the issue was never raised for consideration before the Supreme Court in that particular case. However, the Supreme Court has clarified its position in M.M. Ramachandran case, where it has upheld the applicability of Section 18. Thus, it helped in refuting the argument that the Section 18 does not apply to the code itself. But however, in the meantime, a new issue arose, that is, whether an acknowledgement of debt in the balance sheet entries would extend the limitation period for the purpose of filing an application. And on this particular point, the National Company Law Appellate Tribunal in V. Padmakumar case held that the entries in the balance sheet do not constitute as an acknowledgement under Section 18 of the Limitation Act. This is because the balance sheet or the annual return is mandatory under the Companies Act. And if you don't file the balance sheet or the annual return, it might even attract the penal action. Therefore, this mandatory statutory duty cannot be treated as an acknowledgement under Section 18 of the Limitation Act as per the V. Padmakumar judgment. They also said that if that argument is accepted, that the balance sheet entries and the annual return amounts to the acknowledgement, then there would be no limitation applicable, because the corporate debtor is required to file a balance sheet every year. And they feel this is not the actual law intended to. This is the background of the issue regarding the balance sheet entries. Now coming to the facts of the present case, that is Bishal Jaiswal versus Asset Reconstruction Company Limited and others. The corporate debtor in this particular case has obtained the credit facilities from the consortium of lenders in the year 2014. Subsequently, it failed to meet its payment obligations, and in the following year 2015, the lenders issued the loan recall notices and subsequently assigned their credit facilities to the Asset Reconstruction Company, ARCL. And in the year 2018, ARCL has filed an application before the Calcutta bench of NCLT for the commencement of CARP. But however, the corporate debtor has contested the admissibility under the ground that the application was barred by limitation. But however, the NCLT Kolkata held that the corporate debtor acknowledged the debt in its balance sheet in the year 2017 and thus renewing the computation of the limitation period, and they have accepted the application. And the decision of the NCLT Calcutta was appealed to the NCLAT by the corporate debtor. And when appealed, the NCLAT referred to the V. Padmakumar judgment again, which I have said earlier. So what NCLAT felt in the present case was the V. Padmakumar judgment requires reconsideration because it deviates from the established legal principles, and they tried to refer it to a full bench again. But however, they did not consider that referral. As a result, the case has ended up in the Supreme Court. And now the Supreme Court has heard the case, and in its judgment, it referred to the plethora of judgments. For the convenience of the listeners of We Listen, I have not cited every judgment which Supreme Court has referred to. The judgment of the Supreme Court has addressed two issues. The first one is the rationale behind the enactment of the 238A of the IBC, and obviously the present issue, that is the entries of the balance sheet as an acknowledgement of debt. And the Supreme Court, while discussing the rationale for the enactment of 238A, has quoted the report of the Insolvency Law Committee and stated that the code is not a debt recovery mechanism. But however, the exclusion of the law of limitation will be counterproductive because it brings up issues such as it restores the financial and operational creditors whose debts are time barred under the Limitation Act to file the CARP. And secondly, these debts which are time barred can eventually become a part of the resolution plan and might potentially be included in the resolution plan. So, which is not the intention of the code as per the Insolvency Law Committee, and the same has been reiterated by the Supreme Court as well. Further, the court also has held that Section 238A of IBC does not exclude the application of Section 6 or 14 or 18 or any other provision of the Limitation Act to the proceedings. According to that section, all the provisions of the Limitation Act are applicable to the proceedings in NCLT or NCLAT to the extent feasible. Now coming to the main issue, that is entries in balance sheet as an acknowledgement. So before this, we have to understand what exactly an acknowledgement should consist of. The acknowledgement as per the Limitation Act must indicate the existence of the juror relationship between the parties, such as the debtor and creditor, and the such acknowledgement must appear to be made with an intention of admitting such juror relationship. Now coming to the issue, the Counsel for the Corporate Debtor has contended that the managing agents of the company who were required to prepare the documents never intended to make any acknowledgement or admission. But however, the Supreme Court has held that they were required to prepare the documents and they were not required to make any specific admission. This is accepted. But they faithfully performed their duties, and in doing so, they made truthful admissions about the company's liabilities. Those admissions, while made in course of their duties, are very much conscious and voluntary admissions. Thus, these admissions become acknowledgements of liability. And just because the admissions were made mandatorily because of some statutory complaints does not cease to be an acknowledgement of liability. And another point of contention is that none of the balance sheets contain an admission of the liability that exists on the date it is made. So to simplify it further, according to the counsel, the balance sheet for the fiscal year which ended in March, let's say, will be prepared in the month of April, and which will include an admission of the past liability but not an admission of the liability on the existing date. As a result, such an admission does not meet the definition of the acknowledgement under the Indian Limitation Act. But however, the court determined that the balance sheets meet the test of the acknowledgement. It is because they feel the balance sheet contains an admission of the continuing liability to continue the debtor-creditor relationship, and this can be proved by the fact that the closing balance due to the creditor at the end of the fiscal year will be carried forward as an opening balance due to him at the beginning of the next year. So this is what the reasoning and counter-argument gave by the Supreme Court to the above mentioned contention. So now the Supreme Court has said that the balance sheet entries will be treated as an acknowledgement. But what exactly is the requirement for an acknowledgement? Even this is addressed in the judgment. It says that the acknowledgement does not have to specify the exact nature or the specific character of the liability, but the words used in the acknowledgement in question, however, must refer to an existing liability and indicate the existence of a juror relationship between the parties, such as a debtor and creditor, and as well as an intention to admit such a juror relationship. So therefore, this brings us to the conclusion of the present podcast regarding the balance sheet entries as an acknowledgement of debt. But however, as I said earlier, this is not the only contentious issue in the interplay between IBC and the Limitation Act. There are a lot more other contentious issues as well. And to know them, keep listening to the We Listen podcast. Thank you.